It's time for all the latest in national security, and as he does every week, Lincoln Parker joins me now. Link, great to see you.
G'day.
2 Houthi missiles have struck a cargo ship owned by a UK.
Yeah, indeed, and we're not entirely sure whether the British ship has sunk. We've heard reports that that it sunk and then it didn't sink, but at the end of the day, the cargo hasn't been delivered.
Some of the images looked quite significant, didn't they? A bit blurry, but pretty big fire and...
Yeah, well, they're being hit by missiles.
Yeah.
And I think the takeaway from this really is that these Houthi attacks are increasing. Now, it's dropped out of the mainstream media a little bit, but the attacks are actually increasing, and we weren't able to send a single warship to help our allies in the Red Sea. But I think the takeaway really is that the world is a dangerous place, and it has become even more dangerous over the last couple of years with all of the wars and all of the conflicts that are going on. And we're unfortunately probably going to see China try and take Taiwan. But it's up to the government, Prime Minister Albanese, to be forthright and communicating this with the public, and so that we are prepared. And I just don't see that happening.
We haven't been forever. I don't think people in this country understand. And not because they're silly, because they're not. They're very smart generally. But you're right, the government's not being frank with people as to what the situation is. You look at these latest Houthi attacks are to the US, who apparently struck back and was meant to, put fear in the hearts of all those who would dare to attack one of the alliance ships. They don't care. They've gone again. Biden did nothing to deter whatsoever.
No, he hasn't, and we know that the Houthis are backed by Iran.
Of course. I've taken care, don't worry about Iran. Yeah. I've spoken to them. Biden said 2 weeks before US soldiers were killed at the hands of Houthi missiles funded by Iran. It is weak. Talk to me about, and I don't mean to use the word weak right before, but a big announcement from our government regarding the Navy this week. Is it significant, or is it all just for show?
Well, I think it's a lot of spin. So it sounds very good, but let's keep in mind that the Albanese Labor government commissioned an independent review into our surface fleet some time ago. Now, the results of that review were delivered to the Labor government last September. So they had the results in their hand over 5 months ago. And now, because this could be an election year, they've decided to come out and try and look strong on defence. However, we're not seeing any real change in the Australian Navy in the near term. In fact, not for another decade will we apparently see extra warships. And in this decade coming up, the Albanese Labor government is actually taking hulls out of the water. So, these are sort of paper ships. We're not seeing anything fair dinkum from the Labor government. And
we had that US Admiral, and this takes us to the next topic. You just mentioned you just mentioned China looking to take Taiwan. And he said it would happen in the next 2 years, about a year ago. This is not going to happen in a decade. This is going to happen sooner rather than later. What's the latest when it comes to that situation? China came out, I think, and attacked the US today off the back of a visit to Taiwan. Yeah,
so Congressman Mike Gallagher, a great guy, who is the chairman of the House Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. He's been looking at the influences of the Chinese Communist Party across America, from political to lawfare, the whole lot, trade and everything. Now, he went over at the request and invitation of the Taiwanese government, and of course China hates that, and they came out and they attacked it and warned the United States not to get involved in Taiwan's internal affairs. Well, Taiwan's affairs are not the Chinese Communist Party's affairs, and
according to them, they are.
Well, that's right. And I think we're seeing, as we mentioned before, the world is becoming a far more dangerous place than it has ever been, and we need to be communicating this with our public so that we're prepared.
And so they're willing to make sacrifices we might need to make to defend ourselves and have that capability, because you need the country on board.
You do.
If they don't understand the threat, they're not going to support big initiatives that might have to be taken out of elsewhere.
Absolutely right.
Interesting, just back on China, that they haven't kind of sent some of the planes around, or some of the ships that they tend to do when they want to send a message. It was just a statement. It's interesting that might come. It's only very early days.
Yeah, they do. Well, China puts incursions into Taiwan's economic zone every day with ships, aircraft and all that stuff. They're trying to bully and coerce Taiwan, just as they try to do with any country that stands up for itself and asks for what happened with COVID, for instance, and look what they did to us. And so that is China's MO, if you will. And they're not going to stop, and they have said categorically, Xi Jinping has said in his own words, we will take Taiwan.
If someone tells you what they want or what they're going to do, believe them.
Listen.
It's basic. Listen. Lincoln, we always listen to you because you're brilliant. Thank you so much for your time and your
Erin.
expertise. Really appreciate it.